Hey there, I am Christy Ruffino, former broke single mom turned CEO of 2 six-figure businesses and best-selling author with 15 books. But it wasn't always like this. Not long ago, I was a hot mess. Yes, I did a lot of things right, but mostly I was throwing spaghetti on the wall to see what would stick. Fast forward past many failed attempts and a few incredible victories, I not only get to share what I've learned along the way, I get to bring together top influencers as they share their empowering stories, insider secrets, and valuable resources that can be used right now to step into your power. So, if you're an ambitious entrepreneur, or possibly one in the making, and you're looking to create a business and life that lights you up, well, then you're in the right place. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Mastery Unleashed podcast. This is Christy Ruffino, and I have the pleasure and honor to introduce you to today's guest, KATHRYN Regganie. I mentioned in the show in a little bit, you'll hear it, that I met KATHRYN years ago in Toastmasters. And it's really cool to see how she has grown so much in just a few years and took her passion and turned it into a profitable business. And as a leadership coach, she is just knocking it out of the park in her efforts to help people tame their inner dragon so they can accomplish more, be more, and live a more abundant life. KATHRYN has a business degree and has been a corporate professional for over 15 years, teaching and guiding America's top minds into being team players, balanced bodies and minds, and highly efficient creators. She also has extensive experience in the healing arts. And she now focuses on teaching and supporting high-achieving women executives on how to develop their emotional intelligence to the point of unbreaking resilience. I love that. And today she's going to teach us or show us how we can settle the dragon by banishing the leadership myths, or I should say busting the leadership myths. So let's get on with the show so you can not only meet KATHRYN, who is one of the authors in our Overcoming Mediocrity Epic Women book, but you'll also be inspired by her, learn from her, and have a chance to connect with her and get her free gift that she, of course, is sharing at the end of the show. So let's get on with the show and you can meet KATHRYN yourself. Well, hello, everybody. This is Christy, and welcome to today's show. I am excited for you all to meet KATHRYN Regganie. Welcome, KATHRYN. I'm excited to have you on the call.
Thanks, Christy. It's so wonderful to be here.
Yeah, I said call. I meant show. Welcome to. It's great to have you on the show. I hope that's an indication of how this is going to go today, but no, it's going to be
We're going to have fun.
It's going to be a great show. And we met each other years ago in Toastmasters.
Yes.
And in the local Toastmasters club on Friday mornings at 7:00. That was one of my, I don't usually do early morning anything, but I dragged myself out of bed and got ready to go to Toastmasters. Of course, even doing something we all dread, public speaking, but we all had so much fun. It was a great group.
It was a fantastic group, and it really helped get me out of my shell as well. And it was wonderful getting to know you all those years ago.
Yeah. And I was talking to Steve the other day, and the group is still going strong. So if you don't know out there what Toastmasters is, I encourage you to get connected. Even if you don't really want to be on stages to speak, it's a great way to refine your speaking skills and your communication skills and leadership skills, which is what we're going to be talking about today.
Absolutely.
All right. So settle the dragon, leadership myths busted. You have an incredible story that has led you to this focus right now. So I'd love for you to take a little bit of time and share with the audience today why you're so passionate about this and how your story fits into it all.
Absolutely. Christy, I'm sure you know, and I know, we've got some really tough cookies that you and I know personally. But, as tough cookies, we can go years tolerating underlying exhaustion and overwhelm. And eventually that really erodes our power. And we don't get help until something really hits the fan, like a life drama. And that's what happened to me. And that's how I came up with these myths. But there was a time when, stuff hit the fan for me. And when I truly identified my drama dragon, as I call it now, I really started to build the confidence that I needed to start making choices for myself. Um, it really started when my husband decided to leave me, or should I say, I decided to leave him, because one day after dinner, he had a friend over, a female friend. And earlier in that day, we had decided that we would not be going out for a drink after dinner. However, when it came to that point, the two of them decided that they were going to go out for a drink, and I decided not to go. And it was at that point that I found myself literally in the corner of the bathtub, crying hysterically, throwing up in the toilet. I was shaking with anger and I felt very lightheaded. And it was at that point, I was just so angry and hurt. And I just knew I needed to make that decision for myself. And, since then, I've really created the system. I really looked into these myths that we're going to be talking about today to really get myself out of, the victim mentality that we often find ourselves in when stuff hits the fan.
Stuff. I like how you say stuff.
Yeah, stuff. When that stuff hits the fan.
Dragon turds. Let's call it
Dragon turds. I like that. Dragon turds hit the fan. Exactly. Exactly.
So you were devastated. You felt
Absolutely.
betrayed, and there you had a journey. Like, what was your journey from there to here?
To hear. Well, and I'll be talking about some of the myths, but really what my journey was a journey of self-discovery. Okay. When
Mm,
you have a situation like that, and really any sort of foundation shattering moment, you really have to look inside and see what you're made of. And maybe look deeper and see what you're made of that you hadn't even thought of or considered before. Because when these moments happen, these are moments of tremendous growth, tremendous pain, and tremendous growth.
yes.
So we can choose to be a victim, or we can choose to use those moments as growth opportunities.
To be
And that's kind of,
victorious, right? Victim
and
to
be victorious.
victorious. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's, sort of the road I started going down, to really figure out and learn how to get myself out of that victim mentality,
Mm,
to really strengthen myself as a person and use the tools that I already know and that I had to, make those decisions. Sometimes they're hard.
yeah, they are. They
Yeah.
are. Well, you know what? It sounds like you went through a lot, and I see everything you're doing lately, and well, in the last couple of years, and it's just great to see your growth, how you're supporting people out there in the world. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to talk about these leadership myths. And well, you called them something else. Dragon. What was it? Dragon. Oh, your
Well,
drama dragon. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Settle the dragon, leadership myths busted.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So hang tight, everybody. We are going to take a quick break and come right back with KATHRYN Regganie. Welcome back, everybody. This is Christy Ruffino and KATHRYN Regganie, and we're talking about how to settle your dragon, leadership myths busted. So you shared before the break about what you went through, the devastating feelings the feelings you had around that betrayal, and just how you really had to work on becoming stronger, right? And so you have a couple strategies that you want to share with our audience. What is the first one?
Yeah, I've got three myths. And the first one is that you are the victim.
Yeah.
How many of us fall into that? Sometimes when those things happen to us that are kind of outside of our control, we think we're the victim. And so everybody else should take care of us, right? Have you
Well,
ever been there, Christy?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in that victim mentality, have that
It,
pity party, and just keep celebrating.
Exactly. And a lot of times, like I had mentioned before, with my situation, that's one of the first things that I had to get out of. I needed to really learn more about myself so that I could, um, take the step out of it. And one of the things that I had learned is, I've got choices in every situation. I can either choose to leave, I can choose to live with it, I can change the situation. I can change my perception of the situation. I can change my behavior, or you can act as if. So you're pretending something has changed, and it hasn't necessarily changed. So when I understood that I actually had a choice in the situation, things just really changed for me. I became curious and started asking questions. So I'll just use the example of course, my divorce. At first, I really did feel like the victim. Like he left me. He has this relationship outside of our marriage. It's his fault. But when I stopped and thought about my role in the relationship, maybe it wasn't all his fault, or maybe he saw it in a different light. And so maybe he also felt like the victim. So it's just a really interesting perspective when you look at it that way. I wasn't there all the time. We were doing a lot of work. I was traveling a lot. He was working a lot, not traveling like I was, but the whole relationship was very disconnected. And it wasn't because we didn't like each other or anything like that, but it was just the situation. He worked a lot. I worked a lot. We didn't spend a whole lot of time together. So things went a direction that I didn't necessarily want. So once I started to understand the different perspectives that were there, it was really, really very helpful.
Yeah. So they always say that there are three sides to every story. It's my
Mhm.
story, your story, and then the truth, right?
Right.
So I love how you said that, you thought you were a victim, but maybe he thought he was a victim at the same time. So when we can get outside of the situation and maybe somehow disconnect our feelings about the situation and try to look at it from an outside perspective, or from a place of no emotion, sometimes it's interesting what we discover.
Exactly. And I love how you just brought up that the place of no emotion, that neutrality, because more than likely it's probably not something the other person is even aware of. To be
Mm,
totally honest with you, when I've looked at myself, when I'm feeling like I'm in the victim mentality, and then I take that moment, I realize, well, this person probably doesn't even realize
mm.
how I feel about this situation.
Yeah,
And
so true.
so yeah, just taking that moment, stopping, getting neutral so that you can really take a look at yourself.
Great. Okay, so what is the myth number two?
The second one is don't be selfish. How often are you told that as a woman? Don't be selfish. For me, it seemed like it was all of the time. We're so trained to give everything we have to everybody else. And in today's society, it's so easy to just sort of ignore yourself because our attention is so focused outward. Social media, TV, you know, work, the boss, the kids, the husband, the partner, whatever it is, we're so focused on taking care of everybody else
Mhm.
that we forget sometimes, oh, I'm a person too. And if we don't keep that in check, if we don't keep aware of that, then our emotions can sort of get hijacked. Our dragons start coming out. And we may not even realize it until somebody either points it out or you're just noticing people keeping their distance because you don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
So I would recommend, and when I started becoming a lot more selfish, making decisions for myself, things really started to change. So not only was I no longer the victim, but I now started realizing that I could create my own reality. I could create some safe spaces for me, create those boundaries so that I could have the time and space that I needed to make sure that I was doing the things to keep myself well and healthy. And sometimes that even meant saying no.
Yeah, the dreaded no word.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't like to say no. So what I also suggest to people is say, "No, that doesn't work for me, but this does." So you're not saying no because maybe it's your mother saying, "Hey, I want to go out for lunch," and you just don't have the time. And she gives you a date. You can say, "No, that doesn't work for me, but this does." So now you've created that space for yourself, whatever that looks like, without actually saying no.
Right. I like that. Because yeah, some people do have the pleasers of the world, us pleasers of the world. Sometimes, even though I'm way better at saying no than I used to, I still feel saying no is stressful for some reason. I don't know why, but I just don't like saying no, although I do. But it just kind of accumulates in my brain. And I like that you're shifting the words a little bit. That doesn't work for me, but how about this? Or that doesn't work for me, but can we come up with another date or another solution? Love that.
Exactly. And just a really quick story about that. I had a client come in for a holiday thing, and this was this situation where she wanted to see her in laws and she wanted to see her mother. And normally the in laws would sort of, I hate to use the word dictate, but really decide when they were coming and the situation. So when I talked to her about what would work for her, she came out with the whole plan about when her in-law it would be most convenient for her in-laws come, to her mother to show up, and I suggested she might call her sister-in-law and have that conversation. And she was so concerned about offending anybody, but actually it worked out really, really well, and the holiday went off without a hitch. Everybody was happy. Her sister-in-law didn't even think about the fact that, you know, um, my client had stood up for herself and in a very compassionate, loving way.
So I find that there are certain people in my life or that I've come across throughout the years that tend to be more askers. Like they see nothing wrong with asking you for your, left hand. And to
Mhm.
them, they don't think it's a big deal. But to to me, sometimes, I'm like, oh, I can't believe she's asking me that. So some people are natural takers anyways, and you have to keep recognizing that. But I think I have found that it's really great to set those boundaries because once you start saying no and putting yourself and your priorities first, those people tend to kind of dissipate.
Exactly. And then it really teaches people how to interact with you. If your boss says, "Hey, Christy, can you stay another 10 minutes?" Well, no, it doesn't work for me. I have other plans. And then you can decide what's going to work best for you, for your boss and the situation. Is it delegating it to somebody else? Is it coming in early the next day, or is it your boss taking care of it?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great so far. So what is the third myth?
The third one, and this is one that a lot of us ladies do as well, keep it to yourself. So when we're going through earth shattering moments, or if we're just not feeling the support that we might actually need, we keep it to ourselves. We don't want to appear vulnerable. We don't want to appear weak. And that can be very detrimental. When I was going through my divorce, I actually didn't tell anybody for a very long time, like not even my parents. I kept it in. Um, and it was hard because I was so ashamed. I mean, at the time, I thought, well, who gets divorces? I mean, that's a failure. I mean, I'm just such a terrible person. But once I took the step and I actually started telling people, I was amazed by the support that I got from people. And I found out that I wasn't the only one. So
Yeah.
when I did come in with my little drama dragon poking its head out a little bit, people understood. And, even if it was just a quick conversation at the coffee bar, um, it helped. It helped. So keeping it to yourself is not always a good idea because it starts festering, and that's when we get the tension built up inside of ourselves. And it's just not good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it isn't, because the more you bottle things up, it's it, like when we have good and bad, we need to let it flow, right? But if we bottle it up, then all that just stuff starts festering in you, and then you don't have anybody to talk to, and you don't get other perspectives, and then your stories that you're telling yourself just keep accumulating.
Exactly. And it actually literally builds up in your body. So when you're
Mm.
noticing those aches and pains, guess what? You're holding something in. And it takes the support of somebody else to help, hold that mirror up and show you those dark corners that you don't necessarily want to look at. And you can talk to a really good friend about that. You can, get your coach and work with a coach on that, a therapist, depending on how um, restricted you really are. I mean, there's lots of ways that you can get that support. And you just have to remember, like I said before, be selfish, support yourself as well.
Yeah, that's so good, especially for women. We need to be a little more selfish these days.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
remember recently, well, not super recently, but a couple of years ago, I did make a decision, um, well, to move to Florida, like my life changed. I got told by quite a few people, "You're being selfish." And I'm just like, "No, I'm not. It's time for me to live for me, you know?" So it's okay to be selfish here and there, right? Because we have to set ourselves, we have to
Absolutely.
be a priority and put our life masks on, so before we can be any kind of support for other people.
Right, exactly. And I did the same thing, Christy, after my divorce and it was done and final. I left, I moved and shipped out to Tennessee. I had the same thing. A lot of people said, "Oh my gosh, you're being so selfish." Well, thank you, because I need to be selfish because I need to figure my
Yes.
stuff out. And if I
Yes.
don't figure my stuff out, I can't be good for anybody else.
Exactly. Exactly. All
So,
right, Kathryn, this was great. I love the conversation. And I know you have a quiz that is your free gift that you're going to share with our audience. Can you explain what the drama dragon, I don't know, I have a hard time with that, dragon quiz is all about?
yes, the Drama Dragon quiz is just a fun thing for people to engage in and learn about which drama dragon is most likely to sabotage your leadership. And it really is just a self reflection, fun way to look at how you may be presenting yourself when those foundation
Mm.
moments of life show up. There's 5 different fun dragons that are there, the archetypes that are there, and then just by learning what dragons you have. There's also an email series that will really help you identify with that dragon and some strategies to sort of settle that dragon so that you can move through some of that in a more easeful way.
Awesome. Well, this is great. And I want to thank you. I want to also let the audience know if you want to connect with KATHRYN and just see what she's all about, what her business is, how she could support you. And if you want to get the Drama Dragon quiz, you can get all of that information in the show notes below. What that will do is take you to our gift vault. I don't know, I'm having problems all of a sudden. It will take you to our gift vault where you can get a hold of KATHRYN's gift as well as many others. And so I really appreciate your time today, KATHRYN. This was really enlightening for me. And I know I want to let the audience know if you learned anything from KATHRYN, please share it with somebody you know, because we all know that the more we teach what we learn, it helps us retain that information and it also helps them. So let's focus on that. Let's focus on taming our dragons.
Taming your dragons.
So thank you, KATHRYN. I really appreciated the show today.
Thank you, Christy.
All right. We'll see you all next show. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Mastery Unleashed podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams by turning their mess into their greatest message and following their purpose to help the people who need their newfound wisdom and resources. To learn more, visit masteryunleashedpodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review to this show.